Sponsored by Surfshark. If you think you know folding phones, think again. Because by all accounts, we're staring down a second half of 2026 filled with a different kind of foldable, the widebody. But we've been here before. Oppo was first to split the difference between the clamshell and book-type form factors in 2021 with the Find N, a phone that sold well enough to justify a sequel the following year. In 2023, Google followed suit with the even squatter Pixel Fold, and for a moment there, it felt like this might be the future of foldables. Even Microsoft was in the mix for a minute with its dual-screen, dual-edition Surface Duo. But then as quickly as they appeared, these in-betweeners evaporated, with Oppo and Google returning to more conventional aspect ratios, leaving only Huawei to carry the squatty-smartphone torch with its China-exclusive Pura X.
So why are Samsung and Apple taking us back to the widebody world? And how should we feel about that? Well, let's unfold it.
Pro number 1, passport-sized pocket penalty. Okay, as someone who dailyed the first Pixel Fold for a while, this is the thing I miss the most about this weird little subcategory, the size. The Pixel, the Find, especially the Surface Duo, they all invoke the tactile spirit of a miniature notebook. Now, as someone with no patience for handwriting, I've never had a use for a moleskin, but there's something ineffably appealing about this passport-like combination of shape and size. It's more pocketable than any full-size foldable, and it offers more internal display area than any clamshell. And also, because the cover screen is shorter, it's easier to use one-handed. The only downside to the dimensions, for me, is that these things have tended to be dense. With a mass of 283 grams, the Pixel Fold was one of the heaviest smartphones I'd ever used. This isn't confirmed yet, we'll have to wait for Samsung's summer launch event, but the newly widened Galaxy Fold 8 is rumored to weigh in at just 201 grams, which would make it substantially lighter even than the svelte Fold 7. So, pocketable, one-handable, and lightweight? A hinge head can dream. Pro number 2, YouTube. So I kinda hate this one, but I can't deny it's a big deal for a lot of folks. See, ever since the advent of foldables, they've been criticized for their squarish screens and the letterboxing that comes with them. For people who watch a lot of video, it doesn't make a lot of sense to pay a premium for a big display that doesn't actually show much more content than a standard slab. And while that is true, I've always found this argument a bit facile. For one, you're still getting a display at least as big as the biggest slab-type smartphone. And more importantly, this position ignores every other use case that isn't watching video on a phone, like web browsing, reading books, or letting things like PDFs or graphics just spread out and breathe. I talk more about this in my Oppo Find N5 video from last year, aka the one I shot on a nuclear-powered cargo ship for some reason. But hey, sure, if racking up watch time is your number one use case for your pocket tablet, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. And a widebois like one of these does that a little bit better while fully deployed, while also offering the same self-kickstand option as all foldables. Though, of course, nothing beats a trifold for this. Pro number 3, app scaling. If productivity is your priority, going wide can be a win there too. This point is mainly for the rumored iPhone Fold or iPhone Ultra, whatever it ends up being called, because that phone is currently thought to ship with an aspect ratio of right around 14:10, which this Redditor points out is very close to 1 to 1.4, and that would put it squarely into A4 paper territory. Why should you care? Well, whatever you do, don't watch this video by CGP Grey to understand it. Seriously, you'll sacrifice the rest of your waking hours to ponder the nature of the universe, which might tip you off to the comparative pointlessness of videos such as my own. So don't watch it. It's linked in the description, but don't watch it. Suffice to say, a display with these dimensions could offer a nearly perfect division of space, allowing two apps to run side by side without forcing developers to reformat and recalculate the positions of UI elements like buttons. And making an app look consistent whether it's running on the inner screen or the cover. I agree with that original Redditor. This seems like a very Apple thing to do. Again, all these numbers could be absolute bunk, but even on existing widebois, I've found that the added X-axis makes multitasking and mini laptoping easier. And if what you need is a tall display, well, the accelerometer's still there. Just turn it on its side. Now, it's not all wins for the wide bodies. There are 2 L's we need to live with in exchange for the privilege of packing one of these. Con 1, with smaller enclosure comes fewer toys. This letdown is familiar from the flip phone world. Smaller smartphones mean less space in the casing. Now look, we're still at a hugely impressive moment for technology, and it's amazing how many compromises from just a few years ago we no longer need to put up with. Battery life, display brightness, thermal management, even water resistance. Foldables have achieved parity on basically all these fronts. But one thing almost no one has managed to cram into a clamshell flip phone is a great camera system. And that's true of most wide bodies too. Don't let the triple lens ports fool you. The Oppos settled for a 2x telephoto sensor that may as well have been decorative, while the Surface Duo might as well have skipped the camera entirely. In fact, its first iteration essentially did. Even the Pixel Fold, with its ample 5x telephoto, made enough compromises elsewhere to lag well behind its unhinged running mates. That's true of all foldables, but it's especially pronounced in the wide subcategory. And the latest leaks have both iPhone Ultra and Galaxy Fold 8 sporting only 2 cameras. Credit where it's due, Huawei's Pura X Max manages to fit a proper flagship system on paper, but you've got to be willing to give up Google services in exchange. Con 2. That price is not coming down. Yeah, if the past is any indication, a squatter smartphone will not translate to a punier price. While clamshell flip phones have done a lot to make foldables more accessible, the wide guys have launched with price tags just as stratospheric as their tall boy contemporaries. Back when I started this series in 2020, the theory I think most of us subscribed to was that economies of scale, competitive forces, and streamlined supply chains would drive prices down over time. If you asked me back then, I probably would have guessed that by 2026, book-type foldables would have fallen below $1,000. But with very rare exceptions from budget brands like Techno, that just hasn't happened. At a penny shy of $2,000, the Galaxy Fold 7 was the most expensive mainstream foldable Samsung released since 2020. And with component costs skyrocketing against a backdrop of continuing market instability, I don't think anyone expects Samsung, Apple, or anyone else to be dropping prices on phones anytime soon. But neither of those cons will put me off the wide-body segment or the foldable category from which it was carved. More choice for consumers is good, and when that competitive pressure comes from an 800-pound gorilla like Apple, that's great. I still believe in the utility of folding phones. For the past 6 years of carrying them in public, I've been asked about my phone hundreds of times. And in my admittedly anecdotal American experience, the sentiment from strangers has been almost universally positive. In most of these conversations, the only thing putting people off from buying a foldable has been that it's not an iPhone. So if anything's gonna finally kick this category into a gear high enough to overcome a half-decade of inertia, it's the folks from Cupertino crashing the party, with an assist from the squad over in Seoul. And I'm really excited that each one seems bent on bringing back a subcategory that, in my opinion, didn't deserve to die in the first place. Using a VPN is like wearing pants. All the important stuff stays private when you step foot outside. That's an analogy from channel sponsor Surfshark, a VPN that keeps your browsing between you and the site you're visiting. How? By routing your connection through any of 3,200 servers in over 100 locations. That makes it harder for your service provider to do things like throttle your connection or charge you more based on the type of content you're streaming. It means you can still get web results from your home country even when you're traveling. Helpful when you want to see prices in dollars versus dinero. And you know those pop-up ads that get so intrusive you can't even read the website underneath? With Surfshark's Clean Web mode, you can knock those out. Secure your privacy with Surfshark and get an extra 4 months at the link in the description. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Disclosure: Mr. Mobile is an editorially independent channel, and while this video featured review samples from several manufacturers, no manufacturer had input into or an early preview of this content, nor did any manufacturer furnish a fee for its production. While you wait for those new widebodies to come out, check out my reviews of existing foldables like the Moto Razr, the Oppo Find N6, and the ill-fated Samsung Trifold. And please, subscribe to Mr. Mobile so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, Captain Two Phones on the feeds, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.